Third phase.
Third phase moon, Blake Cousins going over footage just within the past, I would say 12 hours. We're going over it right now. A new pyramid discovered on Mars. A massive structure submitted from Spain. People from Spain shouting out third phase moon submitting footage. That's what it's all about. You gotta look at this imagery. A pyramid buried under a mountain on Mars? Is this what NASA doesn't want you to see? That's a big question. There's been pyramids spotted on Mars, but I'd have to say this is the biggest, in my opinion, concealed under a mountain. Now let's get to the next one. Astoria, New York, a plasmic UFO, and a massive light display. Take a look at this video. Third Phase Moon is always sharing new information as it comes in. What's going on here? Drone? This is no drone, in my opinion. This is a plasmic display of extraterrestrial origin. HAARP? Sir? Not exactly sure. It is quite amazing. Notice as the lights zigzag in the clouds. Is this some kind of interdimensional being of some sort? We're adding brightness, contrast. Light Spirit submits the footage from New York, and I would have to say this is not a drone or any kind of aircraft that I'm aware of. It's a natural phenomenon captured, and it's being shared right now to the world. Now, this is quite amazing. Ed, the famous abductee, you know him. He's got a new video with something that shocked me when I saw this submission that he just shared on his YouTube channel, In Focus UFOs, and a close encounter with an alien that he claims is Voss. You got to take a look at this. Here's a video right now.
You're here, VSET, In Focus UFOs. These images that you're seeing now were shot on a farm I was living in at the time in western Colorado. This was back in about 1993, just outside of Leadville. When you look at the size and scale of the ship, and you see this image, you'll notice what looks like columns. And if you look to the right portal, you'll see an image of who I came to know as Voss. Notice how large the area is in the interior through the shot. You also see that I'm changing from black and white to color and back again. The low light conditions and my experimentation with the camera, I wanted to get the contrast. And as I locked in on that portal and the image of the extraterrestrial, I knew that I had captured something really special. I'd seen the light from this craft about 4 days before I took these images. So I went up to Grand Junction and bought a brand new Canon A1 digital camera. I think at the time it was one of the first new digital cameras on the market. I dug these images up because I remember shooting them. Some things have happened that made me think about sharing these images specifically with SETV. First, check out the color and shape of the craft. Just look at that. Look at the craft and look at the light emanating from it. I know that a big part of reporting and sharing information on UFOs, it's got a lot to do with the emotional side of it. I've had more than 3 decades worth of encounters with extraterrestrials that I've captured. But on an emotional level, this experience may be by far the most intimidating that I've ever had. Maybe it was because I was using the new digital camera and not having to worry about being too conservative with what I was shooting. When you shoot film, those SLR 35mm cameras, you pay so much per roll and to develop. That's how I learned to shoot, and this was new to me. The other reason why I dug these images up, I remembered, them because I just heard the other day in the news that President Bush, I don't think he was still the president at the time, he might have just gotten out of office, Bush Sr. He was just asked the other day, and I just heard this on the news, about the presence of UFOs. He was asked, are there UFOs, President Bush? He was asked that at a press conference. And he said something to the effect of, people in this country are not ready for the truth. And that reminded me about these images when I took them and how I felt at the time, that I wasn't going to share them, and I needed to share them and get them out there, but there's always been so much negativity surrounding this information. And I remember my uncle telling me about that issue. My uncle was a combat pilot, and he had seen UFO craft while he was engaged, and he told me that many other combat pilots had seen the same thing, but none of them ever spoke of it. It was like it was, a matter of not cracking up. My uncle believed that extraterrestrials revealed themselves during air combat situations and then would continue to reveal themselves to the pilots and crews that flew on these missions if they were receptive. Well, I know this firsthand to be true because it was my uncle that first introduced me to an encounter when I was still a young man. Now, it wasn't as though he could summon them, but he was in tune and he was aware. My uncle also taught me that communication with extraterrestrials on these craft had happened with him and other servicemen, and that if I was receptive, that I could expect that it may happen to me again and again. When Bush was elected president, my uncle had already died. But I remember him telling me when he was still alive that Bush wasn't chosen as director of the CIA for what he didn't know, and that one day in my life the truth would be revealed to all. This is why I'm coming forward with these images and stories. This is why I dug up this footage. I think maybe it's for the same reason that, Bush gave the answer he did at that press conference the other day. We as a country may not be ready for the truth, but eventually it all comes out. And it certainly seems to me, with the way technology has evolved over the last 10 to 20 years and what has become of our culture, it's kind of funny, all those supposed smart people, especially the young people, walking around like they're detached, absorbed in their own world of information. It's funny. But by the time these images and the archive of evidence that I'm sharing here on In Focus UFOs becomes accepted, where do you think we'll be in 30 years from now? There's water on Mars and new planets being discovered by the week that have the potential to support life. I'll still be here.